Hello children, so this is your teacher McEnroe again, and today I am going to deal with the part 6 of the lesson named The Happy Prince of Supplementary Reader. And let me just remind you that what you have to do. You just have to place your book. The name of the book is Moment of Class 9. Place it right in front of you, and please follow while I'll be reading out the paragraphs and the explanation of the story. Okay, so in my last class, that was the part 5 of the Happy Prince. It was about the swallow who now was decided to stay along with the Happy Prince, as the Happy Prince was blind, as those sapphires were taken out and plucked out by the swallow just to help those poor people. Okay, so the swallow decided to stay along with the Happy Prince. So let's proceed with the explanation and the paragraph reading, which I will be providing. The swallow used to stay along with Happy Prince all the time and used to tell him the stories of the different places that they had visited. The Happy Prince said to the swallow to tell him wonderful things, but added that nothing was more wonderful than the suffering of people. No mystery was bigger than sadness than he wanted to know who all were sad in his kingdom. So he asked the swallow to go and let him know what he saw while flying over the city. So that was actually the next commandment, I would say, by the Happy Prince to the swallow. The swallow was commanded by the Happy Prince to fly over his kingdom, the kingdom of the statue, the Happy Prince, and just have a look in his kingdom, that who are poor and who are happy and what they are doing and all that. Okay, so the swallow flew and took a round over the city and saw that the rich people were living happily in their beautiful houses, and they were partying while the poor people were begging and sitting outside the gates. Then he went to the dark lanes where there was no light also, and the poor people lived. There he saw that the children were hungry, due to which their faces had turned white. Yeah, those were the things that were visible to the swallow, and it could see everything, the poverty, those things which were bad, and those things which were satisfying him sometimes. The rich people who were making merry, I mean, they were happy, and those poor who were just begging and then famishing or hungry. Under the archway of a bridge, 2 little boys were lying in each other's arms to try and keep themselves warm. Further, the swallow saw 2 little boys under the archway of the bridge. They were lying much close to each other so that they kept themselves warm. They were so poor, they did not have food, so they were trying to keep each other warm. Okay, so that was again one scene or scenario that was witnessed by the swallow. What it saw was there were 2 children who were actually comforting each other as they were feeling cold. 2 children were starving and wondering that how hungry they were. Just then a watchman appeared and scolded them. He shouted and made them go away from there. The poor children keep wandering in the rain as they were homeless. Swallow went back to Happy Prince and told him what he had seen in the city. The Happy Prince told Swallow that his whole body was covered with fine gold. He could take tiny pieces of gold from his body and give it to the poor people in need. All the living beings required money, and when they would get gold, they would feel happy. Okay, gold. Whenever we get gold, what happened? We usually become happy, right? So the prince was again telling to the swallow that, see, my entire body is covered by gold, so it could be given to those children who are actually again suffering there. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold the swallow picked off, till the Happy Prince looked quite dull and grey. It's in your book, please refer to your book. It's a paragraph that I'm reading out right now. Slowly the swallow took out the gold layers from the statue of Happy Prince And as he removed the layers of the gold, the Happy Prince statue started looking dull and gray, obviously. When the gold were completely taken from the body of the Happy Prince, the statue of course, it was really dull now. It was looking gray. It was not as the same statue how it was before, okay? Because all its beauty were taken away. And what were the beauty of that statue? It was attired with gold and sapphires, gems, all those precious stones, right? So since now the statue didn't have them, so now it looks dull and gray. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold he brought to the poor, and the children's faces grew rosier. That is the meaning given in the bracket, like rose flower, it's called rosier. And they laughed and played in the street. We have bread now, they cried. And now those kids were happy when they were given those gold, and now they were saying that now we are having bread to eat. Finally now they are having some money. I mean, like they will just go and sell those gold and get some money in return, and they just go and purchase or buy some food for themselves to eat. As the statue of Happy Prince started looking dull and gray, the children grew happier because through it they were getting food to eat. Then the snow came, and after the snow came the frost. Finally it started snowing, and when a lot of snow fell, everything froze. Everything froze, right? Whenever it starts snowing, so what happens? It will become completely white, right? And then the entire locality or environment will become cold. The streets looked as if they were made of silver. Everybody went about in furs, and the little boys wore scarlet caps and skated on the ice. Everyone was wearing clothes made of fur. Small children were wearing red color caps and were roaming here and there. They were skating on the ice. Okay? The poor little swallow grew colder and colder, but he would not leave the prince. He loved him too well. Swallow bird was feeling very cold, but he kept on sitting near the Happy Prince statue. He did not want to leave him because he loved the Happy Prince. He picked up crumbs outside the beggar's door when the beggar was not looking, and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. Let's see the explanation. The bird did not want to die, so he used to go to the bakery where the beggar used to bake the bread to eat the bread crumbs, and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. The poor swallow was now freezing. It was freezing, of course, because it was snowing, right? It was a winter season. Just because of that, it was trying to keep itself alive by flapping its wings, and then it'll be, going to the bakery where those crumbs are found, and the swallow will be collecting them just to eat, to survive. How sad was that? But at last he knew that he was going to die. He had just enough strength to fly up to the prince's shoulder once more. The bird was knowing that now that is the end of it. The end is near. That's what the bird was thinking. My end is near. I'm not able to live. I cannot survive this cold and this winter season. I will die, of course. But he was just having that last strength, the last strength to fly upon to the shoulder of the prince. Because the statue was, it was so tall, right? So it was having that only strength, the last strength to fly on top of the shoulder one last time. The swallow was aware that he was about to die. He had only enough strength to fly back to the statue of Happy Prince, and he says, what he must have said, please have a look in your book. Goodbye, dear prince, he murmured. Will you let me kiss your hand? Now when the swallow is about to die, he says to the Happy Prince that, can I kiss your hand? This was actually the last statement of that poor swallow, the one who was helping the statue and the prince in giving those sapphires, precious stones and gems and those ruby. So finally it was about to die. "I am glad that you are going to Egypt at last, little swallow," said the prince. Happy Prince thought that the swallow wanted to go to Egypt. That's why it was kissing the hand of the statue. So he said that he was happy that finally the bird was going to Egypt. So the prince was finally happy, right, that the swallow is now flying to Egypt. The Happy Prince was thinking that the bird is fine, and now it is, asking permission to go to Egypt to the Happy Prince. But it was not that actually. Let's just read the next paragraph. "You have stayed too long here, but you must kiss me on the lips, for I love you." Happy Prince said to the swallow that it had stayed there for a very long time and now it should go to Egypt. It wanted the bird to kiss his lips instead of the hands because the statue loved the bird. The statue was tall and the bird was small. The statue asked the swallow to not kiss his hand, the hand of the statue, but just to kiss the lips of the statue, because the statue loved the bird, the swallow, so much. So that's why the statue, that is the Happy Prince statue, asked the bird to kiss his lips. "It is not to Egypt that I'm going," said the swallow. Now the swallow is actually disclosing. I mean to say, he's telling the fact. "I'm going to the house of death. Death is the brother of sleep, is he not?" And he kissed the Happy Prince on the lips and fell down dead at his feet. The swallow bird said to the Happy Prince that he was not going to Egypt, but to the house of death. He added that death was a brother of sleep. He kissed the Happy Prince on his lips and fell down to the feet of Happy Prince and died. That was the fate and the destiny of the swallow. It just kissed the lips of the statue, the prince, and it fell down exactly on the feet of the prince and it died. At that moment, a curious crack sounded inside the statue as if something had broken. The fact is that the leaden heart had snapped right in two. It suddenly was a dreadfully hard frost. When the statue witnessed that the bird has fallen down now, and now it's dead, the heart of the statue, the Happy Prince, was broken into pieces. Let's just see the explanation. As soon as the bird died on the Happy Prince's feet, an unusual sound came out from the statue. The sound was of the breaking of the statue's heart, which was made of a lead. The heart broke because of the death of his beloved bird, but it is said that it was so cold that the heart broke into two pieces. It was so cold that the heart broken into two pieces. Early the next morning, the mayor was walking in the square below in company with the town councillor. As they passed the column, he looked up at the statue. "Dear me, how shabby the Happy Prince looks," he said. And the meaning of shabby is actually given on the screen in the bracket. Okay, spelling is SHABBY, shabby, and the meaning of that is untidy. Means, looks dull. Okay. The next morning, the mayor of the city, along with his councillors, was taking a round of the area where the statue of Happy Prince was erected. And when he crossed the statue and looked up at it, he said that the statue of Happy Prince looked untidy. Now it's looking dull. That was actually the mayor who was taking a walk, and then he just found out that the statue of the Happy Prince is now untidy. I mean, like completely dull. It's not looking good anymore. So he was telling to his counselors. So what he was telling to his counselors? How shabby indeed, cried the town councillors, who always agreed with the mayor, and they went up to look at it. The councillors always agreed with whatever the mayor used to say. So they also asserted that the statue looked untidy. Whatever the mayor would be telling to the councillors will be saying the same thing. Yes, sir, you are right. It looks untidy, so we have to do something. Whatever the mayor says, the councillors will be doing the same thing. The ruby has fallen out of his sword. His eyes are gone, and he is golden no longer, said the mayor. The mayor noticed that the ruby stone which was placed in the handle of the sword was missing. The sapphires from the statue's eyes were also missing, and the layer of the gold from its body was also missing. Everything was missing. The sapphires, the ruby, the gems, everything. Those precious stones, why they were missing? Why they were missing? They were taken out by the swallow. To what? Was the swallow stealing? No, it was not stealing, right? I have been telling you the story. It was commanded by the statue, the Happy Prince, to give those sapphires, ruby, gems, and precious stones to those poor people who were famishing, meaning who were hungry, thirsty, who were suffering, who were poor. So that's why the mayor was telling that it doesn't look good anymore. The statue of the Happy Prince is now completely a gone case. In fact, he is little better than a beggar. Little better than a beggar, said the town councillors. The mayor said that it seemed as if it was the statue of a beggar, and the town councillors agreed with him. How sad it was. Now, they were all saying that, the councillors and the mayor, that the statue is now look like a statue of a beggar. So we have to do something for it. And here is actually a dead bird at his feet, continued the mayor. We must really issue a proclamation. The meaning of that is order, a rule, that birds are not to be allowed to die here. And the town clerk made a note of the suggestion. I mean, like a new rule was set up there by the mayor. He is the mayor, right? He can do anything. So what he did, we have to make a rule now, a proclamation, okay? A proclamation saying that here birds are not allowed to die. So they made that suggestion now, and now that have to be made as a rule, an order. The mayor noticed that a dead bird was lying on the feet of the statue. Then he told the town councillors to pass an order that birds were not allowed to die on the feet of the statue. And the town clerk made a note of the suggestion given by him. So they pulled down the statue of the Happy Prince, as he is no longer beautiful, he is no longer useful, said the art professor at the university. Now pulling down the statue is not a great idea, according to the mayor. So he just sought the help of an art professor, who is an art professor at the university. So now the mayor is asking, or needing the suggestion of the art professor, that it has to be pulled down now, the statue of the Happy Prince. The art professor of the university said that now the statue of the Happy Prince did not look beautiful and was not useful anymore, so they should demolish it. And now the art professor was telling them, pull it down. It doesn't look good. I mean, like, it is no more beautiful. You can demolish it. You can destroy it. Then they melted the statue in a furnace. The meaning of furnace is a fireplace where metal are melted. Okay. Like if you must have seen in TVs, televisions, and all those programs and all, no, you will see such kind of a big factory, furnace, where they melt those metals. So the art professor and the mayor, they decided that it has to be melted in the furnace. So they melted the statue which was made of lead in a furnace. What a strange thing, said the overseer. The meaning of overseer is there in the bracket, supervisor of the workmen at the foundry. The meaning of foundry is workshop for casting metals. The supervisor of the foundry saw a strange thing. This broken lead heart will not melt in the furnace, we must throw it away. The heart which was made of lead, it cannot be melted. Those people were saying, those experts, those people, the workmen who were working there in the furnace, they were saying it. What they were saying? That now the entire body of the prince is melted, but the heart which is made of lead, we cannot melt it because we just can't do it. It's not getting melted. We have to throw it. This broken lead heart will not melt in the furnace, we must throw it away. The heart of the Happy Prince statue, which was broken into 2 pieces, was not melting in the furnace. Here it is actually. So they threw it as it is in the dust heap. H-E-A-P, the meaning of that is a pile or mass or collections of things, completely, collection of things. So they decided to just throw away the heart which was made of lead. So they threw it on a dust heap where the dead swallow was also lying. Where that dead swallow was lying, there this heart which was made of lead was thrown by the workmen, by the mayor, by the councillors, and by the art professor of the university. Coincidentally, they threw the heart of the Happy Prince where the dead swallow was also lying. Bring me the 2 most precious things in the city, said God to one of his angels. Who was seeing everything? God was seeing everything. The heart of the Happy Prince, which was made of lead, was not melted, and the dead swallow. So the God just ordered his angels to bring something precious in that city. As God is everything. God is one, and he could see everything what is happening, right? So just he asked his angels to go and bring something very precious in the city. And the angel brought him the little heart and the dead bird. When the God commanded the angels that bring something to him which are precious, then you know what the angels brought from the city? From the land of people? He brought the little heart of the statue, the Happy Prince, and the dead bird. God asked one of his angels to bring him the 2 most precious things of the city. The angel brought the 2 pieces of heart of the statue and the dead swallow bird. You have rightly chosen, said God. For in my garden of paradise this little bird shall sing forevermore, and in my city of gold the Happy Prince shall praise me. God said to the angel that it had brought the right thing. It had chosen the right things, which were indeed the most precious things of the city. He said that the bird would always sing in the garden of his paradise, means heaven. Paradise means heaven, Jannat. And the Happy Prince would stay in his city of gold and admire him. See to that? God loves those who really loves others. That's why he said and commanded to his angels that you have brought the right thing. the little heart of the statue, Happy Prince, and the dead bird. They were not miser and they were not greedy. What they were doing, they were just helping those poor people, and that is the right thing that you have done. That's what the God said to his angels. So kids, that was the end of that story. I hope that you have understood and have enjoyed listening. And there is one more thing that I just want to add at the end of the story. You have to help those people who are in need. And if not, if you just can't help them, then at least understand their situation and problem. Talk to them so that they will feel comfortable whenever you are there around. Make them comfortable. Don't hate such people. Whenever such people appear right in front of you, don't just say that, oh man, he's a beggar, he's a poor fellow. At least have some heart, help them, and if you just can't help them, then don't comment on them. Don't say anything to them. They are poor people and God is seeing everything. Okay, so now kids, I hope that you have enjoyed. So that was the end of the story and the lesson named The Happy Prince. Now we are moving on to the question answer section, where you will have to just take the snapshot of those questions and answer, right? So that is the question answer section now. Kids, just take your mobile phone out and just take the snapshot of that one, as you won't be able to write them. All right, just take the snapshot of it. The first question is there in your book also. Why do the courtiers call the prince the Happy Prince? Is he really happy? What does he see all around him? That's the first question, and the answer is there. Please take the snapshot. You done? Fine, because I just have to move on to the next one. Question number 2. Why does the Happy Prince send a ruby for the seamstress? What does a swallow do in the seamstress house? That is question number 2 of your book. Take the snapshot, please. Okay, I know you're doing it. You better do it. Question number 3 is your homework. You just have to do it on your own, all right? It's there in your book. So just, do it on your own. Kids, if I really say that now that you just have to do it on your own means I really mean it. You just have to do it. Okay, question number 4, the next one. What does a swallow sees when it flies over the city? And the answer is there. Come on, take the snapshot. Okay, fine. Question number 5 and 6. Why did the swallow not leave the prince and go to Egypt? The answer is given over there. Question number 6. What are the precious things mentioned in the story? Why are they precious? Okay, I hope that you have taken the snapshot. So kids, this is your teacher McEnroe. I am calling it a day. I will meet you again next time in my next class with a new lesson. All right. So hashtag stay safe, stay healthy, and sayonara.